What's up Gears, my name is Hollow Strife and I'm here to bring you a brand new class guide for Gears 5. This video will cover the gunner, so let's get straight into it. This one is a bit late, but I have recently moved home, so there's that. Enough excuses though, you are here to see a build guide, but if this video is the first guide of mine you are watching, then I'm going to put a link in the top right of this video that will have a playlist for most of the classes. My guides are all aimed at players new to Gears or Horde mode specifically, so if you are a hardcore fan, you'll probably know a lot of this, but have a little patience, you might learn something you didn't. The Gunner is a tank class in Gears 5 with a focus on heavy weapons, drawing enemy aggro as well as having the survivability for those tough situations. So, if you like taunting enemies or pretending to be a Scion, then this is the class for you. You are going to start every match with a Retro Lancer, Torque Bow and Snub Pistol. However, the best weapons to use on this class are usually the Mulcher or Torque Bow, but you aren't limited to just these. You can use a Lancer if you choose, or any of the other heavy weapons available to you. One of the best things about this class is the ultimate ability, Reflective Shell. This will make you almost invincible whilst reflecting any ballistic damage you take back to sender. You may have noticed I said almost invincible though, because you can still be killed by getting in close for a hug with a matriarch or carrier. Cyclopses and Palace Guards can give you a split personality at any point, and Sires will attempt to drag you outside, so you have to avoid letting that happen. This ability can also be used while you are frozen, which is a fun lifesaver. If you happen to get frozen by an Ice Scion or enemies that have some sort of freeze modifier on, then you can use this ultimate as you're about to be finished off to help yourself survive. Other than that, nothing else can hurt you for 6 seconds, and this ultimate only has a cooldown of 150 seconds at base. The passive for this class is very simple. Just heal for 50% of any heavy weapon damage you inflict. So, whenever you attack with a Mulcher, Tri-Shot, Salvo or Buzzkill, you are going to be healing for half the damage you're dealing. It means you can square off against a Mulcher Scion and usually survive. Skill cards and perks are next, then I'm going to cover some builds. First up, the Gunner has 22 different skill cards available to use, one of the highest in Gears 5. But to unlock all these cards, you're going to need to level up the class. Here's the same experience table I show in my guides, breaking down each level's experience requirements. But if you are a returning player to the game, any levels you had on Clayton Carmine when it was introduced in Operation 4, that experience will have been transferred to this class. Right, time to cover skill cards. I'll cover each card in detail, so this tends to be the longest part of these videos. And with 22 cards to go through, I won't try to drag it out for too long. Starting at level 1, you'll only have access to Skull Boost. Use this or don't, it makes no difference early on. Next up is Freeze Resist. As simple as it sounds, it just takes longer to freeze from any source. Freezing modifiers and Ice Scions will find it much more difficult to kill you with this equipped. Tank Synergy is unlocked at level 3 alongside your second card slot. This card isn't bad, but needs a few tweaks in my opinion. The damage resistance both classes receive is nice, but upping the resistance and having it work with any other tank class would make it more desirable. There's nothing else to use, so equip it for now, but we will be swapping out later. Up next is Flash Freeze. This is an especially useful utility card. It doesn't have you deal any extra damage directly, but you can help to freeze bosses or high value targets within seconds, which in turn will have everyone else dealing some extra damage. You will also unlock heavy capacity alongside Flash Freeze. This just allows you to carry more ammo for heavy weapons. Can be useful as it is easy to burn through all 250 rounds of a Mulcher in a short space of time, but there is a perk the Gunner has access to, which can lessen the need for this card in some situations, but more on perks later. At level 5, the Gunner will unlock Bait Armor and a third card slot. This card can make you much tankier as it will stack damage resistance up to 60% as you take more and more damage. The buff itself has no indication of how much resistance you currently have or how long it's going to last. This was also a problem I had with the Demolitionist card. Just having a small buff indicator somewhere on the screen would be a nice addition. Secondly, if you are playing on harder difficulties, you won't ever survive getting to the maximum amount of damage resistance. The next card we have access to is Phoenix Armor. A little bit of stim when you get revived is a good idea, however, it's a pitiful amount you get for using this card. Not worth using. Have a combat medic in your squad to give you much more stim more often. Blast Shield is unlocked along with Phoenix Armor. The explosive damage resistance on this one is great. Its value is no higher than any other resistance card, but it counts for nearby teammates as well, regardless of class. So, give you an example, the best pairing for this would be a Slugger. They have a 50% explosive resistance as a passive, an additional 30% resistance from perks. If you pair this with the Blast Shield card, the Slugger will only take 24% of damage from any explosives, so it does have its uses. When you unlock your 4th card slot at level 7, you also unlock Soul Survivor. This is very much a panic situation card. Problem is, you are most likely going to be frontlining everything in Horde, getting in close, so being the last one alive is kind of unlikely. I prefer not to use this, but it's up to you. Grub Magnet is next. I do use this card a lot to tank enemies in Horde, and pairing it with your ultimate ability can shred down enemies in seconds. Plus, headshots are easy to pull off in gears anyway, so you can get a lot of use out of it. Practice every day is also unlocked alongside Grub Magnet. I do like this card, however I still have an issue with it. Faster reload is nice, being able to bypass reloads altogether when you use your ultimate is amazing. Problem is, the gunner's reflective shell doesn't last that long. 12 seconds is the longest duration you are going to get out of this particular part of the card. Hitting level 9 will unlock your final card slot. Congratulations. You will also unlock Heavy Shell. I used this card for a long time, but I would always forget it was on. So if you see drop shots and boom shots flying back across the map killing enemies, it's quite a strange sight, but incredibly powerful. The next card to unlock is Team Resist, an amazing team-based utility card. Whenever you use your reflective shell, your teammates will take a small amount of damage, only 5% when this card is maxed out. And what makes it even better is the fact that you get your ultimate ability back so often. Concussive Explosives is the next card to unlock. A nice bit of crowd control with this card that can be extremely useful with the gunner. It will work on almost any enemy, but best used on bigger enemies like Scions and Wardens, and it will stun anything immediately around your target as well. Next up is Ultimate Battery, unlocked at level 12. I like the idea of this card, but you don't get any benefits from it yourself. It can be worth using if your teammates have immensely powerful ultimate abilities on longer cooldowns, like the Demolitions or Mechanic. Bonus cooldown you get from this is tiny, so I personally prefer to skip on this one. However, you do unlock one of the best skill cards for this class alongside Ultimate Battery. Mulcher Master It, which is a huge deal for the gunner. This pairs well with your passive ability, being able to heal and go toe to toe with some of the bigger enemies is amazing. The lack of mobility can be a bit of a burden, but you can still wall bounce around with a Mulcher, so it's not too bad. This is definitely one of the best cards. Next skill card to unlock is Heavy Charger, and I really wanted to like this card. Problem is, the extra cooldown is so low it's barely noticeable. The gunner's reflective shell has a short cooldown anyway, so I choose not to use this card. If you can notice a difference using this though, then go for it, but it wasn't doing it for me. Time for another tank card with Heavy Deflect. This works the same as Blast Shield from earlier, but instead reducing the amount of damage you and your teammates take from heavy weapons instead. Oh, also unlock Epic Score Boost alongside this card as well. Surely you know my opinion on these Score Boost cards by now. At level 15 you'll unlock Grace Period. This card is a bit strange. The immunity is nice, but with such a short duration it doesn't make it too overpowered. I have used this more in Escape, as you're more likely to go down more often in that game mode. Can be worth using in Horde if you have a combat medic on your team to revive you whenever you go down, even if you're in the middle of a bunch of enemies. Okay, now it's time for not one, but 2 gold skill cards available to the gunner. Reflect Shredder is up first, and this is one of the best skill cards this class has available to use. Any damage you reflect using your ultimate will cause bleeding damage, and if you pair it with Heavy Shell, you can cause a lot of damage with the enemy's own drop shots and torque bolts. Rub Magnet can also have you taunting enemies to kill themselves with their own bullets as well. This card is very overpowered and can be used frequently enough to get a lot of use out of it. Serrated Edge is the second gold skill card the gunner has. Since you do start with a torque bow anyway, having it being able to deal bleeding damage is amazing. This works well into Warden Matriarch, as you don't have to hit their weak spot to deal massive amounts of damage, and pair it with concussive explosives and you can keep them stunned until they bleed out as well. The next thing to cover is perks. So, each class will have access to different perks in Horde. These perks can be leveled up using energy, costing 24,250 energy to max out. Each time you level a perk up, you get a big bonus, but will also cost more for each level. The gunner has access to chain gun ammo regen, which will regenerate ammo for both the launcher and the dry shot. Ultimate duration, making your ultimate lasting longer. Damage, increasing all damage you put out. Health, just a small bump in max health. Here's all the values for these perks and what they cost each level. Okay, time to do the builds for the gunner. This time I have 3 builds for you. 2 are more damage focused and the last one will be there to support your team as a full blown tank. The first build I have for you will have the following cards. This build will focus more on single target damage and crowd control. Serrated Edge will be your main damage output, being able to cause bleeds on whoever you hit. If you are close enough to those same enemies you hit, then you'll be stunning them with concussive explosives. Practice every day is my personal choice here, mostly for the second part of the card. Bypassing reloads when using your torque bow can have you putting out a lot of damage very quickly, whilst taking no damage and also reflecting it back to any enemies. Flash Freeze is the last card I would suggest, just to help freeze some of those bigger bosses that cannot be stunned like Swarm and Matriarch. You do have an option slot here as well, and I have a few suggestions for this last slot. Reflex Shredder to make even more use out of your ultimate ability. Mulcher Master it if you do want to switch between using a torque bow and Mulcher. Or Team Resist can also be a good option to help your team's survivability. Perk order I would suggest for this build would be damage and ultimate duration first, followed by health, then chain gun ammo regen can be skipped if you aren't going to use heavy weapons at all. Build number 2. So, here's the card setup I choose to use, focusing on heavy weapons and taunting enemies to be the front line for your team. Reflect Shredder is here to increase your damage output as more and more enemies shoot you. This can easily finish off most drones in seconds. Mulcher Master it for the massive increase in damage and in turn will cause you to heal for more as you deal more damage. Heavy Capacity for the extra Mulcher ammo. You can technically get away without the extra ammo, but I prefer to take it to help deal with bigger boss enemies that have way too much health. And Grub Magnet to taunt enemies to attack you, and it's easy to hit headshots when you are firing 10 bullets a second. Again, you do have an option slot here for whatever you want to use. Heavy Shell is a good card here, as you can taunt Boom Shot and Drop Shot Scions to shoot you, then just reflect it back with your ultimate. Fate Armor can be a good card to use as well, as it will stack the damage resistance whilst you're using your ultimate. So, you could come out of your reflective shell with 60% damage resistance, giving you plenty of time to retreat if needed. You can also use Serrated Edge if you want to use the torque bow every now and again as well. For your perks, I would suggest Chain Gun Ammo Regen first, then Ultimate Duration and Damage for a joint second, and then Health would be last. Now, time for the last build for the gunner. This is the card setup. This just consists of a lot of damage resistance cards, which will affect yourself and your teammates. Team Resist will give your teammates up to 95% damage resistance whenever you use your reflective shell. Base Armor will just make you slightly tankier with each hit you take for a small duration. Blast Shield and Heavy Deflect will give you and nearby teammate some damage resistance, explosive and heavy weapons. And once again, the last card slot here is optional. Grub Magnet can be a good card to taunt enemies away from your teammates to attack you. Mulcher Mastery, Serrated Edge or Reflect Shredder can also be used to improve your damage output slightly. Your perk order for this set would be health, ultimate duration, followed by damage. Chain gun ammo regeneration is once again only useful if you're going to be using a mulcher or tri-shot at all. This kind of playstyle doesn't work too well on Inconceivable or Master though, as enemies do way too much damage and all these resistances still won't be enough to survive for too long if things start to go bad. You have 3 builds there for you. I've tried all of them and do prefer the damage builds myself. Go and try these out for yourself and let me know what you think. But before I end this video, there's one last thing left to cover. If you decide to level the gunner up to level 20, you're going to unlock the heroic Venom weapon skin for the Torpo. This is what it looks like.
Not good.
There we go, another class guide out of the way. I apologise that this is the first upload of mine in more than 2 weeks, but like I said, I've just recently moved home. With that though, I will be trying to get my Twitch channel sorted again over the next couple of weeks, so I'll keep you guys updated for that. I will also be working on a Nomad class next, as well as a few of you have suggested this class. If this video did help you out at all, then be sure to like and subscribe to see my future videos, and check out the other class guides I have on my channel as well. That is everything for this one though, so have an awesome day guys, and I will see you in the next one.